All right, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Chasing Waypoints podcast. We are back and in the full swing of things. Let me see, man, coming in hot. I can hear myself super loud. All right, it has been a minute since we have done a In the Bivouac, but we are back and starting those back up. So if you guys are playing the home game and have been hearing and keeping along, we've been doing a few different updates and things like that, but we're back to doing some In the Bivouac episodes. For those of you that do not know and are new to the show, basically what we do is we take somebody from the motorcycle industry. That could be rally, that could be adventure bikes, and that could just be anything with motorcycles, preferably dirt. So, and talk shop, you know, talk about products, talk about different things, talk about rides, adventures, things like that. We've had a lot of different people on the show, including Ty Davis. We've had Alex Martin's Conflict. We've had Chris from Rottweiler. We've had Matthew Glade, Rally Moto Shop. All of these different guys. Of course, the guy that we cannot go one episode without mentioning, Gnarly Dave, of course, has been on the show as well. So we're back to doing our interviews, and I am looking forward to it because today's guest that we have on the phone or on the, how should we say this? On the line that we have on the line is none other than Nathan Looney from Shox. So if you guys were listening to or had a chance to check out this week's Waypoint Wednesdays last night, or well, you guys are hearing this on Sunday, but it was Wednesday at 7:15, and Wednesdays at 7:15 we're doing that on the YouTube channel as a live stream. Great episode, great show. We were able to talk to Nathan. He was on in the chat answering questions along with Morgan and a couple of other guys talking shop and helping people with this new product called Shox. So I'm absolutely excited to be in the bivouac with him and talking a little bit more about the product that we have, I say the product that he came up with. So sending him the link right now. Let's see if we can get him into the chat here in just a second. Move it back over to here. How's that intro music for you guys? Is it pretty loud? It's been going on for a minute now. We can let it go here. I'm gonna mute that line here so we're not listening to that one, and then we'll just wait for him to plug in here in just a minute. But yeah, so we got a lot going on. I mean, talk about rally raid in North America. All sorts of stuff going on in North America now for rally raids, as I conveniently and ever so gently turn down the volume on this. So yeah, so we got a ton of rally raid stuff going on now here in the States and in Mexico. And hopefully we got some stuff coming up in Canada as well. But I am absolutely stoked on how much rally events are happening and things that are going on. And so you've got the Kota Rally, second anniversary of that. Baja Rally, 10 years running strong, and then adding different events this year as well. And then you've got Sonora Rally, also a long runner on in the rally scene here in North America. That's put on by Darren Skilton, a Dakar veteran, we should say. But, I mean, it's so much going on. I just saw some stuff on the Coast to Coast rally that's going to be coming up as well. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then, of course, the happiest race on earth, the Nora 1000, going from your traditional, race type format and stages for the motorcycles, now going to a rally style event with road books. And making guys run that stuff, which is absolutely amazing. I think a lot of people are going to get their eyes opened up to how easy rally raid is. And I think that a lot of people will come out of this and start signing up for rallies. You've got Matthew from Rally Moto Shop jumping on board and helping people. I think he's got a special something going on for people that are registered for the Nora event. You're going to want to reach out to him. And then also... including that is the school or the classes with none other than Jimmy Lewis. Jimmy Lewis, another guy that we've had in the bivouac on the show here, but that is somebody else that's going to be down at this Nora event and helping people get into and acclimated into this rally thing, which I think is absolutely awesome. I think a lot of people need to get into this sport. And I think that as more and more people talk about it and we get those resources out, we're going to see a lot more people joining these events. I mean, it's just like it's I feel like I'm talking in circles, but it's just so amazing to see so many events now available to people that have been wanting to try this. And now you've got classes and you've got schools going on. Baja Rally coming up here in May with their event in partnership or working together with American Rally Originals and helping support that team and getting to the Dakar in 2023. You know, Mohar, Kyle McCoy, Dave Pearson, all those guys, Paul Neff, another graduate or another show guest as well. All of these guys going to the Dakar and looking to enter one of the toughest classes out there, which is the Malimoto class for the sport. I mean, really, in any form of racing, it's like you're going to go and it's basically an unsupported race for them. That's it. It's just them. They can get a little bit of help. We'll get more details as it gets closer. But when I mean a little bit of help is like you got somebody that'll help you change the tires. But the rest of the maintenance and the day-to-day and the road books and all of that stuff is all on you as a competitor in the Malimoto class. So, or as they call it now, it's the Motul Originals class. So that's what we're looking forward to seeing what they can, what kind of trouble they can get into. So we're working on that and getting some more details, but hopefully that'll be coming soon. So let me see here. So while we wait for Nathan to join in here, it'll just be another minute. I know this sometimes is a little tricky, but we'll be able to get him on here soon. So yeah, so got a lot going on with the rally events coming up, and then we also have a lot of stuff going on with the Chasing Waypoints side of it. We are working on the road books for the Adventure Raid stuff. We are working on getting ready for some events. We're headed out. You know, we've got the Revzilla event coming up here in just a couple short weeks, April 21st through 24th, out at Mojave at the Zakar compound by Rawhide. So we'll be looking forward to joining in on that one. And then also right behind that, we'll be down at the Baja Rally School with the ARO and working with them on that one and checking out the event and, you know, basically having a good time. Like I said on Waypoint Wednesdays, if you haven't ever hung out in a bivouac for a rally raid, need to do it. It's a lot of fun. It's really cool to see everybody getting prepped, and usually there's a lot of family involved, you know, significant others that are there checking out the event and helping support their riders. So it's really, really, really fun and really cool to see, especially the bench racing. There's always some kind of story about how somebody rode off into the sunset or couldn't find this waypoint or this massive dune that they couldn't get to the top of. All of these different things that happen at these events. It's just absolutely crazy, and it's absolutely awesome to just sit and check out and visit with these guys and listen to a little bit more. So I'm absolutely excited with that and seeing if we can get maybe even do some live stuff there. So we'll see as the events get nearer and what we can do and all that stuff, because I do also help support the Rally Comp system at these events. So Rally Comp is the timing and scoring system that they use to keep track of riders, messaging with them, and then also obviously is keeping track of the waypoints cleared, the speed zone penalties, and speed zone enforcement, and as well as other safety stuff. So it's a really, really neat device. I really enjoy working with Mike and the crew over there at Rally Comp at these events. So you'll see me there. I'll be supporting the events, and then just doing the Chasing Waypoints thing, you know, talking to people and getting involved with people and you know, helping how I can, if I can, when I can. You know, that's the goal, right? Let's just grow this big rally community that's already growing, you know, so let's help it grow faster. So with that being said, let's check in with Nathan from Shox. I know, big long-winded intro, but if you guys listen to the Waypoint Wednesdays, you know what I'm talking about when I say Shox. If not, stay tuned on the podcast, because that is going to be one of the episodes that I rebroadcast on Wednesday mornings for you guys to listen on your commute to work. And so basically what we're doing is we're running this device is something that is designed to help the suspension work better than what it already does, whether it be at stock or whether it be modified. The initial rider feedback is showing that there's a lot of positive results coming back. There is a marked improvement on these bikes with just something simple that weighs 1.6 pounds. So with that being said, let's jump over and start talking to Nathan. Nathan, you there?
Yes, I am.
All right. Well, welcome to the Chasing Waypoints podcast.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Of course. And also, before we even get into it, thanks for hanging out with us on that Waypoint Wednesdays to answer some of the questions about this fancy new product that you have.
Oh, I don't know if it's fancy, but it was a fun chat.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it was like I'm trying to like split my time and talk on the camera, but then I'm watching the chat just like go off, and I'm like, okay, well, let's catch up on what they're saying in here because I think there's some good stuff in there. And it looks like we had what was it? I think it was Morgan from Highland Cycles was in there.
Yeah. He did a review on my counter Shox device the other day.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, and seemed to like it. So
you can tell the difference. Like you can see the difference. And I was watching the movement of the number plate over some of the sections that he was going on. You know, trying to find a reference point, and you can see the difference in how the bike is moving with this. It's subtle, which means if you can see that subtle difference on camera, I'm sure at the handlebars it's way more noticeable.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of situations where it'll help dissipate up to 30 pounds worth of an impact, which that not translating through you, really, you know, if that happens, 1,000 times throughout a rally or a hair scramble or whatever, it can make a big difference at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was something that we were talking about. You know, it's like, well, even if it just gives you 10 more miles, 20 more miles, 30 more miles of resistance where you can ride that much longer at speed, that is all the difference. Making up time, whatever it is. I mean, there's a lot of situations where if you had a little more gas in the tank, you know, right, you'd be better off. So, and
yeah,
even avoiding dangers.
I've had a few test riders that were older guys, and they said usually Monday, Tuesday, they feel like they get hit by a truck, because they're sore after a hair scramble. And, you know, after putting this on, they kind of got halfway through their day and were like, hey, I'm not sore. Why am I not sore? I haven't been doing anything different. And that was the only change I had made. And, there's a huge cumulative effect.
Yeah. For the product. Yeah, I mean, and that, like I said, I mean, that's worth its quote unquote weight in gold, because it seemed like a lot of people were concerned that was a question that kept coming up was, you know, well, how much does it weigh? How much does it weigh? But it's negligible for what it does.
Well, I always tell people it's about a fifth of a gallon of gas. Mm-hmm. And there's not too many people that you put in 1 gallon or 2 gallons and they can tell the difference, you know? Yeah. So if you can tell me you can tell that, then you're probably a better rider than everybody else.
And I mean, and all the better, which means you're just going to notice the effect of this that much more either way. Yeah, so whatever, you know, however you want to slice it. So, sure. Well, let's rewind a little bit. How did we get from this not being something to now being something? How did Counter Shox start? What even gave you the idea? What you know, I've
kind of always had that idea of, everything in nature having its own frequency. Mm-hmm. And, you know, everybody's driven their car and you go 60 miles an hour and the wheel isn't, you know, it's not shaking, and you go 63 and the wheel starts shaking, and then you go 65 and the wheel stops shaking again. And it's just, that's harmonic frequency. And I've always tried to think of like ways that you could potentially get rid of that, but really never came across anything. Actually was watching a documentary on some buildings, and they have something, and it's a similar effect, but it's a mass damper. Mm-hmm. And what it does is it, you know, when a tall building sways one way, there's a huge weight at the bottom, and we're talking, you know, 100,000 pounds or something like that. And it goes the other way and counteracts that. And I'm, you know, thinking, oh, how could that be applied? And I know it doesn't exactly isn't exactly parallel, but, you know, that was kind of where it started. And I started thinking of ways that I could potentially do that. And eventually made it out to the garage to try some things. And, we ended up making something, just, out of scrap stuff that I had in the garage, and it worked. I could tell a noticeable difference, but I can't say it was optimized at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a good friend of mine that is a aerospace engineer, and, the amount of math that he can put to something just blows your mind. And, so I approached him, and we kind of went over what was happening, what I was doing, what I was feeling. And, we actually ended up building our own, testing equipment to, position sensors and things like that, for the motorcycle, and started working on how to optimize it. Also the original one was, a foot long and, 2 inches around. It was huge, so we had to get it shrunk down so that it could fit on a bike in a reasonable amount of space. And, really, we ended up making quite a bit better product in the end from all the testing.
Yeah, this thing, I'm still holding it. For those, I have it on the desk from the Waypoint Wednesdays episode. And when I initially saw this mounted on the bike, and I believe it was Robert from the Kansas Rally team where I saw it going on, I thought it was some kind of like reservoir of sorts for the suspension.
Right. There are air tanks, and those air tanks, sub tanks, I think they were called,
mm-hmm.
have been around a long time. The Ricky Carmichael had them behind his handlebars for a while. And, I think there's Crefmoto has something out that I imagine works, but it's an expanded tank for the air forks now. But yeah, this is a completely different concept.
Yeah, no, not at all. This is nothing similar to that. This is obviously, you can feel the weight in it, and kind of understanding and watching. And it was funny because I was literally watching some stuff on Formula One and some of the stuff that they were doing with mass dampeners, and obviously it's a kind of different style, and how it worked. And I didn't realize, I rewatched it after this, and after finding out about counter shocks, and this was actually current technology that they literally banned for this year's events, or this year's season. So it worked that well, but I guess it was getting too out of hand with what they were trying to do. So to see this now available, basically what I would kind of consider Formula One, the pinnacle of technology, and let's go out and try something, to now see this available, something similar to that, here for motorcycles.
Right. Yeah, that's I think you're referring to the J damper. That mm-hmm. It is a similar concept. Theirs is, if I remember right, it's dampened in a circular kind of motion. Has a large screw in it or something to that effect. I can't remember, but yeah, I actually, that seems like a really cool concept. This one might be a little more simple than that, but it took us, like I said, it took us quite a bit of testing to really home in on the frequencies that we wanted to attenuate. If you're going along and you're only attenuating frequencies that are at, say, 1 or 2 hertz, that's not going to catch very many of the hits that you're going to take. Mm-hmm. And then if you go the other way and you really stiffen it up, and you're up at 11, 12, 15 hertz, something like that, that's literally just vibration. You're not gonna get what you want. So our initial testing was to try to figure out what range motorcycles do, what frequency they do work in, and once we kind of establish that, then you can kind of home in on exactly where you want to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which is, and if anything, for those listening that wanted to, like, if you do some research and figure out, like, we know that obviously that this is different than a J damper as far as the stuff goes, but what you just talked about, like how on the frequencies and how you have to counteract frequencies, in order to attenuate or eliminate is explained pretty well in some of those videos. But I mean, I saw a few comments, right? The snake oil comments and all that stuff. And it's like, if you don't understand that part of it, I would see where you kind of think like, oh, okay, yeah, it's, there's no way this makes sense. But if you think about it from using weight in a particular way in these Shox or whatever Formula One was doing, if it didn't work, it would have left the car immediately. It wouldn't have made it out of testing, but it's something that they developed way back when into now. So for them to be using weight, just weight in general, in a certain fashion to be able to develop traction, to be able to develop corner speed, to translate it into something like this, and now into a motorcycle, into specifically enduro bikes and apparently even adventure bikes, and also the rally bikes is just amazing to me. I mean, it's like, okay, we're taking technology, we're remixing it, and then we're putting it into this genre or this kind of
right. Well, and I think a lot of people they think about what we've got, what we're using, and they think about the impacts that they're taking on. But there's also impacts that you get from the bike popping out. As your front wheel comes up and that wheel stops fairly abruptly as the fork extends, and it pulls your hands back down. And a lot of times at the exact same time, the rear wheel's hitting the obstacle that your front wheel just hit, and it jerks your hands down, and this attenuates that as well, which that's not even a known problem until we've started figuring these things out. And I think I've never heard anybody in suspension discuss the problem of the bike pulling down away from them after they've hit an obstacle. And I think this is it's an unexplored portion of the suspension game.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And that's, I mean, it's very true. It's like there is it's like a aha moment. It's like people never really realize that, but that's the shoulders hurting at the end of the day because the bike was literally pulling you back to the ground. And there was some talk about that on the in the chat about how like during G outs and how you do and you don't want. Sometimes you want faster rebound and sometimes you want slower rebound depending on what you're doing, but all of that plays into a balance. And so,
right. Everything's a compromise in suspension. And, I feel like this, without having to make really almost any adjustments to your bike, this helps just smooth all the edges. And if you think about a graph that's going up and down, having, peaks that stop immediately and go back down. And then you think about a graph that looks more like a wave, where all of those peaks have been rounded off at the top and the bottom. That little bit of the impact is, a huge effect overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's as you're saying that's what I'm picturing. So it's like this is helping basically round the corners on all of those edges.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Instead of the fork stopping and starting, immediately, it gives you just a little bit of a break because of that mass. It's got to get it moving the other way. Mm-hmm. So
it's okay. So I mean, I guess the way to explain it slows the direction change. In a way. Yeah,
exactly. And, something else that another kind of way that I've explained it is, if you could imagine, somebody holding your forks or your handlebars in a position as you hit a bump to where your handlebars wouldn't move up at all. It would cause your suspension to go up just a little bit higher rather than your hands popping up. And that's basically what's happening is as at the instant your suspension goes up, it feels that G-forces and it's going down because it's trying to stay in place, and it's going to cancel out a portion of that impact. And like I said before, it can end up being, 30 pounds worth of impact. So if you took that, that device that you have in your hand there and stood up and just dropped it on your toe from about waist high, let me know what that feels like.
I feel like that's the shake weight test that everybody wanted me to do last night. And
oh my gosh,
just like that, I will not be doing that test either. No drop tests. I'll bolt it to the bike.
Yeah, it seems like every time I'm on any kind of a chat or anything like that, somebody starts talking about shake weight and posting pictures of shake weight. It's like, all right, I get it.
Yeah, everybody's laughing until they go ride it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And so now this feels like, or I guess how should I say it? So the dynamic aspect of this, like, is this something, the same device you'll notice in lighter chop, but you'll also notice in heavier hits? Or does it get to a point where it's like, okay, well, I've done my work, that's it?
Well, I mean, I would say about the heaviest hits you have really are those G outs, where you just absolutely slam into stuff. And, that's, there's a noticeable difference, especially just, it doesn't bounce you up and, send you off left or right. There's a noticeable, a difference in those, but also, really, I think one of the sweet spots on this is, I remember going down a creek bed that had rocks that were about, 4 to 8 inches, just nothing but rocks, and going down it at a pretty good clip, probably 20, 25 miles an hour. And I could take one hand off as I was doing it. I'm like, this is crazy how much it's making it work, and, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily recommend trying that, but it was just crazy how I felt confidence in it enough I could do that. So, it really does, work in a lot of situations.
Yeah. Well, and I'm thinking, the adventure bikes, which I ride a little bit more of now. I mean, I'm Project 501 literally on the list. Is a Husky 501, and that's, so I haven't gotten there yet, but the adventure bikes is where I mostly ride stuff. And that's why for the first time in any of the bikes, I spent more money on the suspension first than on anything else. But it's specifically because of that, because usually you find yourself, like, anybody can ride the fast stuff and the kind of rough, but not really rough, but just it looks rougher than it is pretty quick. But on an adventure bike, it's the stuff that catches you by surprise that's more dangerous because the bike weighs way more. So it falls into these things fairly abruptly, unless you're Quinn Cody and then you race it at hare scrambles. But otherwise, So it sounds like this is also, I'm not going to call it a safety measure of sorts, but it's at least something that helps. Well,
I put it on a friend of mine's Yamaha 700, and he went out and within a couple days did around a 500-mile ride, and he came back and told me, man, I just felt so much more confident. The front wheel always felt like it was on the ground. So what ends up happening on let's say you've got the chatter bumps from them grading roads on gravel roads or whatever. And what happens is those bumps happen so quickly that the fork keeps getting bumped up, but never gets a chance to come back down. And so what ends up happening is you're above the natural sag of the bike, and you lose contact with the ground. And this device has an impulse that counteracts every single one of those hits. It's working quite a bit faster than your forks can. And it's counteracting every single one of those hits, keeping you down in the stroke and keeping that pressure on the front tire. it's not an excessive amount of pressure. It's a 1.5 pound device, but it keeps it down and you don't end up with that floating feeling. So.
Yeah. Which, I mean, yeah. So I can see that's why we keep hearing the term thrown around, planted.
Right.
Because I felt it on the 790 when I first got it. I messed with the clickers a little bit, but you could tell that there's so much tuning that happens in the suspension in those first couple of inches that changes the way the bike feels completely. The big hits are the big hits. And I mean, you've got 270 or you've got, 250 millimeters of travel if it's a stock 790 Adventure R. And so it will dampen that stuff, but it's all that little stuff. And that's your acceleration bumps when you're leaving, that's especially for the rear. But the big one is coming in to the corners with the brakes and changing direction.
Right. One of the other tests that we did was about a 10-minute hair scramble loop. And we went out and ran this loop. And just one of the things we were interested in is how many times the bike topped out. And so as we're looking at it, and so we went out and did the loop, and and then we put the counter Shox device on and went out and did the same loop. And we went back and forth and did that several times. Same rider, same bike, just with the device, without it, probably 3 minutes in between each loop, And it topped out 63 times in that 10-minute loop. So we're like, what do we know? I don't know. That's more or less than anything. But with the device on the exact same loop, it only topped out 20 times in that same amount of space. So it's kind of telling you it's holding you down in the stroke instead of, up above that natural sag. That was kind of, like I said, my initial making of this device was fairly rudimentary, and that's why I got with the guy I did to get the data to figure out what this is doing and how can we optimize it.
Yeah, because I'm much happier that this thing does not measure 2 feet like the original one did.
No, it did not fit behind the number plate very well, and it wasn't too pretty. But no, they actually we're able to pare it down and make it look a lot better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, like I said, it's like, and you're right. I mean, most of the stuff that I've seen, you guys rotate it around and mount it behind a number plate. So you could walk right by this in the pits 100 times and not even notice that the bike is equipped with it.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
Which is cool, because then, it's not as, it's the effective size that it needs to be to make the change, and do its work.
Right. And I've been asked several times, what if we made it, twice as heavy? What if we made it, lighter? Well, I actually put 2 of them on and went and rode. And really the overall effect was it didn't handle much or any better, but it started to be a noticeable amount of weight. We were up at, a little over 3 pounds at that point. And I felt like that was a noticeable amount of weight and didn't really seem to do much better for that.
Yeah.
So, we went up and down weights, and, there's been a lot of trial and error. But I think we've optimized it as much as possible. Well, it's going to continue to develop, though, as well. We're changing things, regularly just to test.
Nice. And so, I mean, on something like this, aside from the colors and what you guys have been doing for optimizing, now we know that there's obviously different riding styles. There's the guys that, hard enduros, 80 hours on a bike, and they've got 6 miles on the odometer because they spend their time idling, and they may not notice it. But some of the faster, like desert racers and hard enduro and rally and all of these different segments, is it one device fits all, or is there tuning involved? Is there
really the only time I've noticed that we need to put a slightly different tune inside the device is desert and rally guys. When you get up above 60 miles an hour, I don't know if you remember me talking about the rear wheel hitting what your front wheel just hit.
Mm-hmm.
And what that does is it throws that back down really quickly. And, you know, we need that frequency to be raised up a little bit for that, to make it work. Now I'll say that setting, if you put it on a enduro bike, you know, went there, did a hare scramble or something, you're not going to feel quite as much usefulness out of it. But with the desert stuff, you know, you're going to need to be, you know, you're going to be running a lot higher speeds, and it needs to behave a little bit differently.
Gotcha. Okay. So there is, and I mean, yeah, it makes sense. The frequency changes, and that's just simply because, yeah, you're over 60 miles an hour, you're hitting stuff a lot faster. So there's got to be a change in there,
right?
Because the frequency changed, obviously, and this is what it counteracts that. And so I'm thinking, how do you explain it to the people at, you know, the people, like I always say, is those playing the home game, and you know what they notice, you know.
Oh, okay. So what you actually are going to feel? You know, if I'm going to tell you what you're going to actually feel when you get on it, the bike's going to track better in and out of corners. When you come out of a corner, you get on the gas, it's going to go right where you want it to go, rather than, you know, a lot of times you end up skittering kind of out as the front end starts to push and you get on the gas. It comes in and holds its line a lot better. Braking bumps will, I won't say they'll disappear, but they are way less noticeable. You know, as a track gets rough, you know, those are probably the things you're going to notice almost immediately. I've probably had, out of the hundreds I've put out for people, I've had 2 people say, I didn't really feel a lot. And you know, okay, that's going to happen. You know, you could put cone valves under everybody, and there's going to be a certain amount of people that aren't going to feel it. So
yeah,
it's just going to happen.
Well, and I mean, and I can see it. So that was something that back when I talked to Alex about it, is that there are a lot of people that will not notice changes, but yet are picky, like if they would notice changes, you know, and I'll let people go back and listen to the episode to find out about some of the stuff he does to kind of counteract that. But I agree, because I think that it seems, I don't know, I'm trying to put everything together here, but it basically, what it seems like is that with this kind of a device, it's going to let the bike do things more naturally. Therefore, if the suspension is maybe not quite right, but people don't know how to relay that to their suspension guy to figure it out, or where they're riding, or they ride such a vast amount of different terrains, this is something that's going to kind of help even that out, because what we notice on the bars is what we relay back. Oh, this thing is rough. It's super bad. It's really jittery, or it's this, it's that, or the other.
Right. So, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the other thing I've had that, you know, I've had people tell me, oh, well, I don't know if I could feel it or not, but you know what? I get forearm pump every single time. I don't have forearm pump. You're like, you get forearm pump every time you ride. Yeah. Well, and you don't have it. No. Well, then you felt it. Like you just know you felt it, but you come in and you're showing, like, I had a guy, he was running around the pits. Look at my forearm. It's soft. Like, look, it's usually always pumped up all hard. I'm like, okay. You know, and this guy had one of the, one of those vibrating massagers, and he had the other couple other devices for forearm pump, just because he always got it, and he was pretty pumped that he didn't get forearm pump. He actually started racing again this year because he's like, I couldn't hold on anymore. Now he can. So I thought that was pretty cool that he started racing again just because he can feel the bars now.
And it's interesting. It goes back to the same thing. It's like, oh, well, they didn't feel it, but that's just like, they may not have noticed, going from 22 pounds down to, 15 pounds in a tire, or, doing some kind of change like that. But it was almost like a passive thing. And to me, for racing and for stuff like that, that arm pump, I think, is the biggest thing. I mean, I think the biggest effect is, yes, we talk about it in terms of the bike and what the bike is going to do, but what really it is the benefit to the rider. And if you can hang on to it, that means you're going to be able to ride longer than you used to be able to. And so
I've been racing, double A. I'm bringing up the rear in the double A, let's just say, in the Midwest for a long time. Since 2000 is when I started racing double A. And I've always struggled with forearm pump. And I feel like now with this device on, I can be more aggressive than I've ever been. And, usually I would always have to go hard and then try to back it down a little bit so that I could get my fingers back, and now I don't feel like I have to do that ever. It just, I don't get the forearm pump. My hands don't get as tired. You don't have that locked on feeling where you can't get your fingers to straighten back out,
Yeah. I've been there, done that. And I only ride an adventure bike. So nice. So definitely, man, I'm excited. I just, I'm my petition to do 25-hour days hasn't gone through yet. So it's unfortunate. I don't have enough time in the day to get this thing already on there and testing, but I'm excited to do so this weekend and really try it out. I got the perfect 7-mile test road that gets clapped out by all the local traffic. That I think this is going to be that will be my stomping grounds for this thing.
Awesome. I can't wait to hear your feedback.
Yeah. No, and that's already, I have some ideas on the suspension and part of me just literally wants to, I made a lot of changes. So I don't think it would be fair to just throw it on there and go ride it, because I don't know how the bike's going to react with the lighter battery, the smaller gas tanks. And then, and interesting enough, there's something that I'm kind of curious to see what this affects. On the 790s, a lot of guys have been removing one of the front calipers on it, when they go more off-road oriented. So I did that, but right away I noticed a difference when turning the bike. It seems like when I go to turn the bike towards the side that doesn't have the caliper and the rotor, so that would be to the right, turning the bars to the right, it feels heavier. And my guess,
feels heavier without the extra rotor on there.
Yeah, it's weird. And I think what it is it's basically, since the rotor is on the left-hand side and the caliper, what I'm guessing is that it's me pushing that weight, that centrifugal weight, out on a bigger arc. And there's nothing on the inside to counteract that weight. And so I'm thinking that's what I'm feeling, which is why I'm really anxious to try and because literally I can figure that out riding down the street.
Did you use like a 3/4 inch, 2-foot long breaker bar to tighten your headset up or anything like that recently?
No, I did. No, I know that was, I hear you on that one, but no, I was like, I installed the, to the point that I actually brought the bike back, put it up on the jack, got the weight off the front wheel and turned it in both directions, and it's perfectly smooth. I literally just, I put the Rottweiler triple clamp set in there, but I changed out the bearings to the tapered style, the tapered Timken, like a real bike, not a bicycle. Yeah. There goes my job at KTM if I was ever going to be offered one.
But they're off the list.
Yeah. So I was like, no, nothing's wrong with it. I checked the torque on it again. I go, no. So everything felt right, So now I'm like, okay, well, it has to be that weight. And it is some weight. I mean, that caliper and that rotor on its own, I mean, they weigh a lot. So my guess is that since there's nothing on the inside to kind of help fall over or counteract that. My guess is that that's what I'm noticing. So with putting this on that side, because it seems like that's the side that everybody puts it on, is on the right hand side of the bike, or the right hand fork leg. From what I've seen, I'm looking forward to this helping with that, because I know I won't notice that in the dirt, but on the street, getting to the dirt, I notice the difference in the turning right away. So take yourself a 4mm Allen and leave the device off and go ride for about 15 minutes, and then pull over and put it on, and then give it a shot. That'll be the best test. And it's pretty quick. There's only 4 bolts to put that on, as long as you've got the rest of it mounted up. Yeah. So. Yeah. Which, I mean, yeah, I'm stoked to get it on there. So yeah, it'll be, I saw the install videos on how to do it. And I mean, and it's super quick. And I mean, yeah, moving a fork leg down is fast. I mean, it takes no time at all. So, be able to bolt this thing in. So what's next for Counter-Shox? What are you thinking?
Well, we're just trying to get the word out. It's a completely new idea, and new to the motorcycle industry, at least. We're working on trying to get the word out, and the more people we can get on it, the more it'll grow, I guess. Like I said, I'm almost 100% on people saying they felt it and they liked it, and it was a positive thing. So, technically speaking, we're probably 6 months away from maybe a little less, but on a 2-part bracket. So we're not going to have to pull forks off to put them on. But other than that, we'll keep tinkering and trying to optimize it as much as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually I think that by now, the amount of people you get out there that ride it and notice it and do that, you'd start to hear like, but that's not the case. So I have a feeling that we're going to start seeing a lot of these out at the races.
Right. I hope so. We're also something that we sent one out to Trail Rider magazine, which is one of the oldest actually still printed magazines in the country, and they're gonna hopefully do a review on it pretty quick. I think they wrote it last weekend, so hopefully we'll see something on that. And I'm talking to some other people about doing some different reviews. So that's one way we're trying to get the word out.
Yeah. I'm we're talking about this, and I'm in my mind, I'm just playing my aha moment for this thing, even though I haven't ridden it, was watching Morgan's video, the Highland Cycles, doing that trail out there, and I believe he's in Colorado, right?
Yeah.
And noticing the difference in the movement of the number plate and how high the number, and for those that, well, he was going slower or he was going fast. No, he was carrying the same speed, and it almost felt like with it on, he was carrying more speed because of it. But
right, I just noticed on that type of trail, I think his bike was tracking a lot better. There was one time about the middle of the video where he jumped off of something that I think he's used to having to really brace himself when he hits, and he starts laughing like, "Wow, oh, I think I really felt it there," So.
And I think that's maybe where I noticed there was like there was a particular staircase in that video where he goes up and then comes down. And I noticed it on the way up, how much the number plate kind of moved, and that difference, the one versus the other. But I think I noticed it more, like you said, on the way down. It just the number plate just did not move. So whatever you're going to chalk it up to, there is a difference visually from one to the other. So like I said, at the start of this, is that if that's what you can see visually on a video, and we all know how GoPros are great at showing how steep something is not, but is. Or,
yeah.
If you can notice it.
You're like, yeah, no, that was, I fell down all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's always the same. It was like a while back. I did one of the rally routes that a friend of mine out here, Gnarly Dave, puts together for the Honda team, and came down the. I mean, this hill was steep, and I was terrified because obviously I'm on a 450-pound adventure bike. You know, he's on a WR450, and I'm like, yeah, I want to see the GoPro video. And then I see the GoPro video and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to show that to anybody. Because it's like straight down in person, but then you see it on the GoPro video and you're like, meh.
Yeah, it doesn't look, it always looks like, yeah, well, you could just about walk up that just fine, you know. Yeah. I know it's hard to get a picture that shows really what it's like. So
yeah. But again, I mean, the fact that you're able to notice that in a video makes it all the more exciting to get it out there. And
I can't wait to hear your what you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Well, I'm going to try and get in the garage.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll get this thing going. But I appreciate you taking the time and sending one out so we can try this thing. And And for those of you listening, I will be at the Get On ADV event coming up at the end of April with this thing installed and ready to go. So come by. We could talk about it and ask questions. And I'm sorry if I end up waking you up in the morning, Nathan, because I know you're back east with questions. But if guys got questions about this thing, I want to get them informed because I got a feeling you're going to change the industry. With this thing.
Man, I really hope so. There doesn't seem to be anything else like it. So I'm pretty excited to, get it out to everybody.
Yeah, no, this thing is going to be rad. I can't wait. So awesome, sir. Well, I'll let you get back to it. I'm sure it's getting close to dinner time and, let you get on with it. But yeah, I will be in touch with more questions and anything that I can do to help, because this thing is going to be awesome.
All right. Well, it was good talking to you. I appreciate it. If anybody wants to check out our website.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's Counter Shox with an X at the end.
SHOX. Yeah.
Counter Shox, SHOX.com. And I'll put the link in the description and do all of that. So to make sure we get people over there they can find out a little bit more about it, because you do have you had the install video. I saw a couple of graphs on there. So
yeah, there's some reviews on there too. I've had as many people as I can get to review. It's usually 1 out of 20 will actually do a review. So
yeah.
They've got a few on there. So
nice. No, I'm a big believer in anything suspension, and it makes a bike easier to ride now. Before I was more about, how does it look sitting in the Starbucks parking lot, but I end up riding my stuff more now. So
good deal.
Nice.
All right. Well, thank you.
Anything? Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And we will be in touch very soon.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye. All right. So there you have it. That was Nathan from Counter Shox. I'm very excited about this product. And yes, full disclosure, it's sitting here not mounted on the bike. But I think that once we get this thing mounted, and from what I've already seen, this thing's going to make a huge difference. And to me, huge is, I can think of rides that I've done, where you ride from, those familiar with Baja, you ride all the way from the pine forest, all the way across down to the crossover road, and then jump across that and then go into the coast. It's an awesome ride. A lot of fire road, a lot of chatter, a lot of stuff. So by the time you get to the coast on an adventure bike, you're starting to feel it in your hands. Your hands are stiff. You can tell your body's fatigued. It's time to, set up the tent and just chill. So for me, something that will allow me to get there and be or feel better, or even this, paint this picture. And to me, that is very important. There's a staircase coming down when you get to the end of it. And so something goes sideways, you come in hot, whatever it is, if you still have a little bit left in your arms that you wouldn't have had normally, that's all the difference. Your reaction time, your being able to brake, your all of these little things add up. And that's like, like I talked about on Waypoint Wednesdays, it's like talking about heated grips. It's like you don't know you need them until you get into a situation where you realize, now that I have them, had I had them then, that might have been different. So this is where I'm leaning with this, and this is where I think that this thing is going to go. So for those curious about it, it's called Counter Shox, Counter Counter, and then Shox Shox.com. So check it out and see, take a look at it, and you're going to see it's a very simple device. You can see the install video on how easy it is to bolt onto the bike. And then the reviews and everything. And like I said, I mean, there's enough people out there that have already tried it out that this would have gone the other way already had this not been doing something for these guys. And like I said, for those of you that have arm pump, you heard Nathan talk about one of the racers that he worked with on this product and now getting back into racing because he was able to counteract the arm pump. There's just so much positive. So I'm looking forward to putting out. So keep an eye on the Chasing Waypoints Instagram. So at Chasing Waypoints. And then also keep an eye on the Facebook side of it. And then, like I said, go back to Waypoint Wednesdays to the show on YouTube. Episode number 10, we're talking about the Counter Shox. I did the unboxing for it. So you guys can actually see what, kind of what this thing looks like if you haven't already checked out the website. But then, keep an eye because I'm definitely going to be writing a review on this. I want to see this on bikes. I cannot wait to try it out and really see the difference. So with that being said, I think we've been going on for a little bit. So with that is a wrap. Guys, don't forget, sign up, subscribe, hit the bell notifications on the YouTube side of it, share these with your friends and all of that stuff. I'm glad we're back. We're doing some in the bivouacs. We're talking to some cool people out in the industry. So I'm really looking forward to it. We've got a lot of stuff coming for Chasing Waypoints. So stay tuned. And we'll see you guys at the next event. All right, that is a wrap for the Chasing Waypoints podcast this week. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what you heard. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and a bunch of others. Also, follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook under Chasing Waypoints, Instagram, Chasing Waypoints _official, and, of course, the YouTube under Chasing Waypoints. Hope everybody has a good week. We will see you guys for the next episode. Remember, shiny side up, and don't forget to tag us. We want to see where you guys are riding and what you guys are up to. Have a great week.